Hi, this is Jean Marie Jobs, and welcome to the Feed Your Hero podcast. We are going to be interviewing Amy Maxwell today. Amy is a really good friend and colleague. She works with Kyrus Tech, and she is their human whisperer. Figure that out. And we're going to be talking about interviewing and interviewing skills and just some of the things she notices and listens for that I think you'll find really helpful and interesting. Hi, Amy.
Hey! I'm so glad we get to do this. This is actually really fun.
It's great. So I know you've been at Kyrus Tech for almost 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years in April.
Yeah. And steep learning curve and
Yes.
so many interesting things. But I would love to hear, what are some of the things that you've learned that are just most interesting to you about this whole world of recruiting and interviewing, and what do you find interesting? What do you think our listeners would find interesting?
The first thing that is always so interesting to me is what people choose to share about themselves. And
Always.
what they don't share. And you think, this is an interview.
Yeah.
Obviously, maybe you're thinking, put my best self forward. And they don't.
Okay.
And I think to myself, of all the things you could have said, that's what you said?
Yeah.
So I don't know. That would be my number one pro tip is, as much as you can put your best self forward, do. It's okay.
Yeah.
And maybe that's like its own skill set in a way, to be able to talk about yourself and highlight the aspects of you and things you've accomplished that are great and that you're proud of without, being over the top.
Do you think people do that? They're just unconscious, or do you think it's a way to, like, false humility? I don't want to sound like I really am awesome, so I'm just going to throw in some of these crazy stories, or is it just I'm so unconscious I just blurted things?
I mean, this is going to sound funny to say. It could be my industry. I work with a lot of engineers who don't necessarily talk with people very much. So that could be part of it.
True, yeah.
Could be nervousness.
Yes.
And so things just eke out. I also think sometimes there's no planning. Like, did you think about what you wanted to say? Was there any foresight before you and I connected right now in this moment? So maybe it's like some combination of those things.
Probably, yeah.
That's awesome. And I say that with a lot of care. I enjoy thoroughly the people I get to interview.
Yes.
And I think, that's some combination of those things. So
fantastic. So what else? What else have you learned, or what else for you would say, wow, I didn't realize this, or this is such an interesting aspect of this whole process?
Well, I love that this is your Feed Your Hero. And I've thought a lot about when I'm in the process of interviewing someone and I'm screening them for a position and a job, and how much our work just as people is such an important part of our lives, and how neat it is, at least for me, to take a person and say, we're going to marry you to a great culture, a great company, and you're such a good fit. And then to hear back from them, say, a month into their job, and go, I love it. It is what you said.
Turned out.
I'm so happy, and I feel fulfilled. And so to me, that's like the most beautiful part of my job is when that magic happens. I can't imagine, at least for myself, the insecurity of having to fully provide for my family, have a very specific engineering skill set. So my job is going to be very, very specific. And I'm making this leap to try and find something new. I'm like, golly, the space you'd be in.
For sure.
So it's fun to be that person that's like, okay, I think you should go over here. I think this is your next company. This is your next place to go. So.
Great. What are some things you look for to make that marriage work?
Yeah. I'm privileged in the sense that the companies that I work with, I'm pretty selective. So it's not just any company. Typically, I believe in their culture. I believe in their values. There's some insight I have about the company that I go, okay, I feel like I could really sell you to somebody. So that's the first criteria, is that it's a company I respect, I like them, I want to augment their culture. So in that vein, when I'm looking at people, I'm really trying to determine, do you have the leadership, the humility, the willingness to learn, the willingness to be adaptable and flexible as you enter into a new space. Mm-hmm. Even if you are an expert, you're a senior at what you do, are you still willing to learn? Are you still willing to be who they need you to be to work as a team.
Yeah.
So I think those two aspects are sometimes, they come together great. And then other times I'm filtering out lots and lots of people. Oh, that's not going to work. Oh, that attitude won't work. Oh, you're not the person.
Yeah.
Until we find, oh, you're the gem. You're who I've been looking for.
Yeah. So. I think that's a difficult thing, I'm sure, for most employers, people in any type of industry, is you're oftentimes hiring on skill set.
Yeah.
And then you end up firing on attitude, right? Later, as the saying goes. So it's being able to ask the questions and sit with someone to really tease out and discern, is their attitude also a marriage for this culture? And especially in any type of technical industry where expertise is so heavily weighted. That, people need expertise, and of course you want experts in their field. And then, P.S., can you
Who
also...
else is over there?
Yeah, right. What else besides your expertise? Like, how can you hold your expertise, or how do you contain it? What kind of attitude, if that was like a box, what kind of attitude box does that expertise come in? And how do you help people even see that? Because I'm sure most people don't really think about their attitudes.
Yeah. It's definitely not the thing they highlight first.
Let me tell you about my awesome attitude.
No.
Yeah. Amy, tell our listeners a couple of stories. Like, what was the best, most compelling, beautiful experience you had in an interview process, and what was maybe just the worst? It sounds so awful, but we secretly love all these stories.
Okay,
so.
Yes. So the best is just interviewed a young gentleman. He is about to graduate. So he'll graduate in May of this year with his bachelor's, computer science. Off the cuff, in the interview, just asked him, tell me 4 or 5 of your strengths. He blurted out just 5 beautiful, clear, succinct things about himself and examples off the cuff. And I thought, wow, that's impressive that you just came up with that. And so what I loved about it was that he had very specific examples, which I think is great.
Yep.
He spoke very clearly about himself. There was no modifying or trying to talk it up or talk it down. It was just very, hey, I'm organized, I'm thoughtful, I can articulate things well, I'm good at problem solving. Here's an example of that. I thought, wow, I wish I could record this and then give it to every person I interview, because this is a great way to speak about yourself.
Yeah.
And it gives me a lot of insight into even how you react on the spot, right? Which in your job, you're going to have so many of those situations. So I just loved that. We are hiring him, for the record.
Yes.
I was like, yes, we will take you. You're amazing. Check. So that's an example of something that was so fun and actually really a pleasure to be part of the conversation with him. I did have someone, this is probably about 3 or 4 months ago now, and I always start with the same question when I'm interviewing people. Tell me about yourself. What should I know about you? And it's interesting to see where people go, where they start. It just deadpan to where I thought it might be a joke and found out this person was not joking. This person said, well, I'm bored. I went, you're boring? I was I'm trying to place the comment in the context of the question. And this person just said, I'm bored. I'm like, you're bored in this conversation?
Right now?
In an interview for a job you want. That's what you're telling me. And this person was just like, I don't know. This is not very fun. I was like,
you're like, this moment?
I'm like, I don't know if we're just not on the same page. I don't know if you don't know who you're talking to right now. I'm not sure what's going on fundamentally.
Oh my.
So that was maybe the most awkward and also awful. That whole interview was, this is not exaggeration, was probably less than 4 minutes. I was like, I don't,
Yeah, got nothing for you.
Yeah, if this is boring, you should probably not. I don't know what to say. So that was just very strange. It was just I thought, I guess you don't want a job? I'm not sure what's going on here. So.
Or clearly you want a job where other people entertain you, because that's what you being bored communicates. That
yes.
it's other people's job to entertain you and bring your life into an interesting space, because clearly you're not exercising the personal agency to do that for yourself. So you're just looking externally for like hand puppets and fireworks. You're like, no.
What do you think happens in an interview? Just out of curiosity. Please enlighten me.
Oh my goodness. It's so funny. I think, and that conversation just itself is I'm bored. That's such a common conversation in the culture too. And you can see I have a very visceral reaction to it, because I'm just like, oh,
I thought you might like that story.
Yeah, perfect. It's just because it's so self-focused.
Yeah.
It's like, oh. And you know me well. I love researching words, and that word, the word itself, bored, was never used in that context until maybe the last, I don't know, 50 years or something. Wow. Because before that, if you look at like Webster's 1828 dictionary, the word bored meant made hollow.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like you're boring out, or like the wood or something. And I'm like, well, it's kind of perfect to be made hollow. That still works. So it's like, if I'm going to be interviewing someone and that's how first thing they want us to know, I would be like, goodbye, thank you.
Yeah, that's pretty much was my response.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So, and what's interesting too is people would say, oh, that person must be from a certain generation.
Yeah.
And they were not.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, so it's just pervasive.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, I mean, people are people. And yes, different generations carry different traits. And any person governs their character and governs who they become. So I'm like, really, age doesn't matter in this context, right? That's the thing you chose to share about yourself in that moment. How fascinating.
Right. This is how you've invested up until now.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, bye.
I'm clear. You are not for us or any of my companies. Right. Good luck. I sincerely mean that.
Yes.
You will need it.
Like, I have someone here for you. They're bored already. They haven't even gotten to your company yet.
It's very hard to sell that, actually.
Interesting. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Wow. I'm sure you have a multitude of stories.
Yeah.
That you can.
They're not. That's just such an extreme.
It's an extreme.
It would be interesting. I think it's interesting for candidates to hear such polar opposite.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I have a friend that she interviews in her organization, and I said, well, what's your favorite question to ask people? Yeah. And she says, I always ask people, what's your pet peeve at the office?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'll have to tuck that away.
Tuck that away.
Okay.
Because she said people will tell you like things, because your pet peeve reveals also things about your character.
About you, yeah.
So I think she gave me an example that somebody said, oh, I hate it when I'm working and I get interrupted. That's my pet peeve. But the job that the person was interviewing for was a very peopling job, which would be continually interrupted. I mean, people are going to be coming to that person, so
by those humans.
Actually, okay.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
It's really revealing, especially if you're in that.
It made me start to think about what was my pet peeve. Not sharing. What else have you seen just over your time that, if you were going to give some tips to our people who do interviews that are listening, what would you tell them?
Well, I have an employer tip, and then I have a potential candidate or employee tip. So on the employer side, we are in a very tight labor market. So it doesn't matter who you talk to in any industry, they'll say there aren't enough people, we need more people. Right. So knowing that, a lot of employers, from my perspective, make a mistake of I'm just trying to get a butt in a seat. Yeah. I'm just trying to get a person in there. I really don't care who's over there. I just need a butt in a seat. That is going to hurt you, honestly. And so when I talk with my teams and I talk to different companies, say, hey, listen, it is actually worth it financially and from just an employee morale to be patient until let's weed out 2 or 3 people. I know you're desperate. I know you need this person yesterday, but it is so much better to have someone who actually fits your culture that you're like, oh, this was a great hire. Whew. You know, right? So can we just take another month? Can we take 2 more months till we find that person? So even in a very tight labor market, there are very good people out there and we can find them. So that would be my employer tip.
Yeah.
On the employee side, I think, for employees to stay open and also to choose based on a variety of values. So for example, a lot of potential candidates I talk to are like, oh, I just want money. It's just whoever pays me the most. And I'm like, okay, listen, this is a huge percentage of your life at this company with these people. There is no salary in the world that will compensate for terrible culture, horrible bosses, or even just a place you don't fundamentally want to go every single day for at least 8 hours. Yes. So there's a part of me that's, when I talk to candidates, say, okay, let's diversify a little bit. Apart from salary, yes, I understand in a tight labor market, you can pretty much command whatever salary you want. I get that. And what else is valuable to you? Because guess what? In 2-3 months of a bad position, a bad fit, a bad company, you're going to be very sad. And you and I are going to be having the same conversation again. So it, goes both ways, right? Everybody needs to find a good fit. So a lot of times I talk to candidates about, okay, great, let's assume salary's there. What else? What else truly matters to you?
Yeah.
What didn't you like about your old position? What are you looking for now? And can we tease this apart and make it bigger than just a number? Because you, as a human, are also bigger than just a number. Right? So let's make sure you're not also shrinking yourself down into I'm only worth a dollar figure.
Like a commodity instead of this
that you're
bigger
trading
picture.
around.
Yeah.
So I think that's also enlightening at times for candidates. Like, oh yeah, maybe I have just been making myself a number.
Yes. Instead of looking at this bigger picture that's available.
What will I contribute, or what am I going to this company to give? What will I create when I'm there? How will I augment what's already beautiful about what they're doing? And just having some of these bigger conversations rather than who's going to pay me the most?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because otherwise, I think what ends up happening, if that doesn't get addressed up front, then you end up with what my friend who runs a business calls talented terrors. So you get,
heard that. Yeah, that's so funny though.
You get people that are really competent and really good at what they do.
Yeah.
And no one wants to work with them.
Yes.
It's like, yay for you that you're the best salesperson, whatever, and you create such weather around you with your attitude or the way you are with people or aren't, whatever it is, that the morale and the culture starts to erode or degrade in this weather system that this person's created. And a lot of organizations, they want the best people and inadvertently end up hiring these talented terrors. Often sales position is super common.
Yeah.
And it ends up being a situation where it erodes the morale because other people are watching this certain behavior or this attitude get tolerated over and over again. And then the eye roll, and then, well, that's just Jack, or that's just Jill, or that whatever. And over time, people start trying to get away with other stuff because, hey, I guess this is what we do here.
No one cares, yeah.
No one cares. So that's I was thinking when you were talking, you are like a corporate matchmaker.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
You're like, you on the dating game, and
you go with you. And,
because you're
so happy, yay.
So it is a lot like a marriage, and you are there. I mean, for all of us, we're at work or we're working a huge percentage of our time, of our lives. So why not be someplace that you enjoy? Why not be someplace that enjoys you or that brings out the best in you? And it brings out that you want to bring out the best in the people around you at the same time.
Yeah, because we hear all the time, people are like, oh, I'm searching for purpose. I want to know what I'm here for. It's like, well, this is a huge arena of your life that you engage in every day. What about creating purpose there? You know, not just going to show up so I have a paycheck. So I love that idea of you can be a terror, or you can actually offer something and bring something and build something, right? Even if you're like a junior and you just got out of college, you still have a voice that can build something in a corporation. Yeah. And so people just believing that, I think, is really important too.
It is, yeah. It reminds me of Dave Logan's tribal leadership and the different levels of leadership. Whether it's we're beating the other guy, or when you get to level 4, it's like we're leaving a legacy. And how many people really think about their lives at work or at home as, hey, we're leaving a legacy, and this is who we are corporately and communally, that we get to leave a legacy in our industry, not versus what someone else in our industry is or isn't doing.
Yeah.
Just what are we bringing into the space, and what are we doing that leaves a mark in our industry that years later people can look back on and say, wow, that was amazing.
Yeah. I think about, imagine leaving a company and leaving it better than you started in it, right? Like, I'm not leaving because I'm mad or I'm upset or I see something better. This is complete. I've left my legacy and I'm being called to the next thing. What if we moved employment in that spirit, in that vein? You know, it'd be so different than, oh, I was just so mad that I left.
Exactly.
You know? Okay.
I remember when I was working in the insurance industry for years and years, 15 years of the insurance industry, and doing a lot of marketing and that kind of work. But I remember every time I got frustrated, and I'm like, I'm just going to leave because there was this little voice that said, you don't get to leave mad.
Yeah.
You don't get to leave mad. Like, if you're going to leave, let it be a completion, let it be a season. You don't get to leave mad. That's not who you are. And you don't get to give into that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what you call it. Just give into that immediate gut reaction of, I want to get out of here. That doesn't serve, right? That wouldn't have served me if I had just been reactive and given into my reactivity that way. And it wouldn't have served the organization. So just that willingness to stay, to work through whatever it is. And then if there is a time that you leave, and of course there is, probably for all of us.
Sure.
What does it look like, and how do we create that completion and leave some places and some relationships on the upside? Like, this situation is now better because I've contributed, and I love the contribution that I gave, that I was willing to give.
Yeah, because imagine if I'm leaving mad, I just carry that right with me into my next place of employment.
Yes.
Versus I left complete, and now I'm clean, clear, ready to get, give to something new. It's just a whole different space as a person.
Yes.
When I complete well, and then I move to what's next.
Yeah, because we take stuff with us if it doesn't.
Yes, we do.
If it doesn't get handled. So why not?
Yeah.
Great. Is there anything else before we wrap up that you wanted to share? You think would be exciting, helpful, interesting? Stories, tips.
I would say. For anyone who's like, oh, I don't know if I feel called to something new, but I don't know if I can take that risk. Take that risk. This is a great time in the economy and the culture right now if you're thinking about starting something new, branching out on your own, switching industries, this is the time. It really is a beautiful time to be an employee because you have a lot of options. So if you're thinking about it, take a risk.
Do it. Call me.
Yeah, or call me. Okay, whatever, sure.
All right. Thanks so much, Amy. It's been great to have you.
Yeah, thank you.